this is my friend Curious Karli, and we sort of met a while back at the RTR, which is a Rubber Tramp Rendezvous.
Yep.
So Karli was there because she is a full-time traveler and van lifer. Mm-hmm. So I always think it's interesting to find out why somebody would want to live in a van. Do you want to just tell us your beginning stages of how you started to become Curious Karli?
Yeah. Well, Curious Karli was an afterthought. I was Karli on the road. And it was just plain Karli at the beginning. And my story is not one of like poverty, which tends to be the theme. Mm-hmm. But I just came across Idle Theory Bus, and they live in a Westphalia, and they had this beautiful video of how they'd been traveling for 4 years in a van. And I was like, oh my God, I could do that. I could live in a van. And I'd been trying to plan trips with other people, and it just was not working out. So I thought, well, I don't think I've got enough savings. I could buy a van. I could have my dad help me put the stuff inside, and I'll research it. And then just head out on the road. And that's exactly what I did. I spent 5 months outfitting the van after I bought it. And it was only like, it was right down the road from me. So I didn't even have to go into another state to get my van.
Oh, cool.
Everything was kind of like working out. My dad made it just as I wanted. And he did most of the build. Because he had all the power tools. He knew how to use them. He's been in construction his whole life. So
it relates. Yeah.
Yeah, he knew how to do it. And it's not a difficult build at all. I stained it and made it look nice, but he put it together for me.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's what family's for.
Yes.
Helping out.
Yes.
So you got your van, you got it outfitted to make it comfortable for you, and then now the world's your oyster. Where'd you go?
I really wanted to go east. I'd not been east outside of one trip in high school, so I went, I was in North Dakota at the time. I went down to Devil's Tower, and it was during Sturgis. So
oh no.
that was like, I was like, first day on the road, and I'm just overcome with motorcycles. What do I do? And I kind of stayed away from Deadwood and Sturgis, and I went and saw Mount Rushmore and started hitting like national parks, national monuments, and friends' places, because I didn't really know where else to go. I was trying to be spontaneous and just kind of move here and there, and if someone said come visit me, I would go there. And I went and saw the fall colors in New England, and I loved it. I really wanted to go to Maine and have a lobster roll, and just the food and the scenery was probably the two things that I was looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, and then...
So you wanted to experience different cultures and areas of the country.
Yeah, I wanted to see new things. I wanted to know what the Adirondacks were like, because I knew what the Rockies were like. Right. And seeing trees covering everything everywhere was nice.
Okay.
I'm from the high desert, so there's trees are
trees
here and there. You know, you go into the mountains and there's trees, but there it was like trees everywhere. You couldn't see far.
Right.
Yeah, and so the first 6 months on the road, I was pretty much by myself. I'd go visit friends, spend a couple days, and then head on, and then I'd spend a couple weeks by myself, and I felt very lonely. And so when I heard about the RTR, it was the end of December, and I was like, well, I'm in Florida. I have less than 15 days before this thing starts. I better get moving.
Right.
And that's where I went and met all my friends, and it's been a lot happier experience since then.
The RTR was a good experience.
Yeah.
Was it 2017?
Yes.
Was your first RTR? So that was my first RTR, where we had a brief meeting, sort of, where you came to our camp. We'll leave that for another time. And it's kind of a funny story, but it's not really, maybe not funny unless you were there.
I think it's a funny story. I was a candy girl. Me and Laura would go around to each campfire and give candy, because we like to hop from fire to fire, and people would kind of look at us weird. So we started bringing things, and then we were known as candy girls. And then I wanted to make s'mores for people, so then I started bringing s'mores to everybody's camp, and his was one of the camps that I brought s'mores to.
Right. Yeah. And then somebody in our camp was not very s'more friendly. And so Karli never came back to our camp. And the rest of the RTR, we kept wondering, where did the s'more girl go? Why didn't she coming back? And we kept thinking, because you were not friendly. Anyway, but yeah.
It was funny. It's
yeah.
funny now.
But we did kind of meet that way, so that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when he reached out to me a few months ago. He said, I'm the guy from that campfire where we didn't want your s'mores. So I was like, oh, I remember you. That's all you need to say.
Yeah, that was our, notoriety. Not a good notoriety. So you did get lonely out on the road?
Yes. And actually, at the RTR, there is this seminar that Randy puts on called the Tin Can. And you can put whatever question you want inside the tin can. And as a group, as a community, we'll answer it. So some people were asking all sorts of questions, but I put in one, how do you deal with loneliness? And I loved the response that everybody gave me because I was meeting people, and this was a few days into it, but I wasn't sure how long these interactions would last. Like, oh, are these people just going to be nice to me for a couple days until the RTR is over?
Okay.
But is my loneliness going to be will I be able to handle it after that? But then I realized I just caravanned for the next 3 months with people and it was all fine.
That you had met at the RTR, who you wouldn't have gotten a chance to meet in the first place.
No, if I would have kept on whatever sporadic journey I was where I went after Florida, I don't know where I'd be, but I think I would have eventually gotten to the point where I went to the RTR or found somebody in the YouTube group and met up with them.
Right. So I've found that generally van dwellers and nomads are pretty open and happy people and are easy to make friends with. Is that what you've found as well?
I think we are because we're so desperate for friends.
Really? Okay.
I think that's the overwhelming. When I go to the RTR now that I've gone 2 times, I see people who are just kind of not desperate, but definitely looking for interaction and they don't know how to make that first conversation. Extroverts have it down. They can figure it out. But most of us, I think, are introverts, and that's why we get along on the road so well. But there is a point, a crux, where you're like, I've been alone for so long, I need to make friends. I need face-to-face time. This is first day of kindergarten, and I need to find a coloring partner.
Interesting. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I think most people have been very nice and friendly in person. I haven't had a bad interaction with someone who lives in their van. Maybe they're too friendly at times, maybe too forward, but never someone telling me to go on my own way.
Interesting. Okay. Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's good. And it's good to know.
Yeah.
So you've been traveling a lot all over the country. How do you afford to travel? Because travel is expensive.
As one person put it, your gas money is your rent money. So since I don't have an apartment, basically wherever Sherry needs to be, that's the rent.
Okay.
And I afford to be out on the road from savings for the most part. And I get odd jobs here and there. I think I've held 4 different jobs since I've been out on the road. I worked for the Conservation Corps. I worked as a babysitter and then as a bookkeeper. I think I might have done something else. But that's how I've afforded, more or less. And then I just stay stationary for a little bit and then go back out for a couple months. And the more stationary I am, gas is usually the biggest expense and then food next to it.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. So since you are moving around a lot and your finances have to be somewhat meager, how has Sherry been with that? Because she's not a new van.
No.
Has she held up?
She has. She's never broken down on me. She has her quirks, but I have an issue right now that's going to be a couple $100 to fix, but it's not stalling her from doing anything. Okay. She can still, it's the radiator. I need to get it rotted or get a new radiator or something like that. But it's not stopping me from going. Okay. So mostly it's upkeep. Other than that, I haven't had anything go wrong.
That's awesome. Okay. There's lots of things to worry about if you're going to be out on the roads.
Yes.
But you've made it work.
Mm-hmm.
You've taken odd jobs and settled down when you'd had to. But what is maybe the most difficult thing that you've had to deal with just being out by yourself on the road?
The most difficult thing is finding a place to park for the night.
Hmm.
That is always my main concern. I have this restless spirit in me that if I am flying solo for a while, like I'm not caravanning with anybody, I tend to move every day. So I'm not ever going to park again in the same spot overnight. Finding a new spot every night is difficult.
Oh, that would get tiring.
It is tiring. And I start thinking about it like 3 days in advance. And then if I
Right.
don't find a spot that I'm okay with, then I'm up later than normal worrying about it. And I don't like that feeling. I want to have more control over that, of like, whatever may come will be fine. I can get through it. If I have to move, I have to move. I'm like, the worst that could happen is that I'm kicked out.
Right. Then you have to just find a new spot.
Then I just drive down the road and I'm already in the cover of night, so I'm good.
Right.
I think it's more daunting to come into a spot during the day. And I'm always in a new town, so I don't know if I'm in the wrong part of town, the right part of town, what the city ordinances are.
Right.
If I'm always in a new spot, or like maybe the cops are like, have it out for people on vans, or maybe it's completely normal and I could park anywhere I want.
Right. You don't know.
knows?
Right. You don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my top concern, stress factor, anxiety, is finding a spot each night when I'm constantly moving.
Interesting. Yeah. That's not something I have to deal with, so that's interesting to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're making it work. You're obviously happy
Yeah.
person, and you haven't had much trouble since you've been out on the road. What advice would you give other people that are kind of contemplating doing something similar to what you're doing?
Yeah, make sure you have some sort of support, savings if something does go wrong and you would need to get your van fixed. Because I don't have friends everywhere in the country. So there are pockets of the states that I would be completely without any help, and I'd have to pay for everything.
Right. Okay.
But then, so like savings, and then making sure that you're mentally prepared for it all, for all the little things that go wrong.
Okay. All right.
Like finding camping. If you're not a camper, I find it interesting that people long for this lifestyle, but have never gone camping on a weekend. They want to go buy a van and outfit it before they've ever even tried doing this before.
Right.
So if you think you might be into it, maybe going out in the vehicle that you already have, whether it's a car or anything, and take a tent or put a sleeping bag in the back seat and just go see if you can handle that.
Right.
And then you'll know what size of vehicle you need after that.
That's a good tip, I think. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Good tip. Well, it's been great hanging out with you, and it's been great talking to you, and I hope you know that at least as long as I'm here in the Seattle area, you have a friend here.
Nice. Thank you.
Not that I hope that your van breaks down.
No.
Yeah.
I hope not.
No. But anyway, we're here, so and we're now friends.
Yes. We always were, but now we're more than Facebook friends.
There you go. I'm not on Facebook.
More than Instagram friends.
YouTube friends.
YouTube friends, yes.
All right, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime.